Hi, guys. Welcome to the English Journey podcast. I am your host and Canadian teacher, Jasmine. For this episode, we have a special guest and a recent friend that I've had the opportunity to connect with through LinkedIn. Mary Tabunag lives in the Philippines and has been teaching English since 2009. Prior to becoming a teacher, she worked as a nurse for 2 years before entering the language teaching profession. Mary has extensive experience in IELTS teaching, training students from Korea, Japan, Vietnam, Taiwan, and the Philippines for over 10 years. She will be discussing more about her English teaching career and her tips for those taking the IELTS exam. Hi there, Mary. Thank you so much for joining us on the English Journey podcast this week. Our listeners will definitely enjoy hearing your tips as you have so much experience in English teaching and training. How are you doing today? I know it's kind of crazy how I just woke up and you're soon going to bed.
Yes, hi Jasmine again. Hello. It's already 9:30 here in the Philippines, and yes, we are 12 hours apart. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I hope that you're okay. This is still very early, maybe for you.
Honestly, I've been trying to wake up earlier, so this is actually not too early for me, but I don't really talk that much in the morning, so my voice needs a little bit of warming up.
It's still a bedroom voice.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's get into it. Can you tell
Mhm.
us a little bit about your teaching background? What made you want to basically change your profession and become an English teacher and trainer?
All right, okay. But I'd like to talk more about first of a background of, myself because I think a lot of people are very interested to know, like, because of this long years of staying in the industry. And so I always share about my background. Like, first and foremost, I'm a nurse by profession. And I can say that I'm an accidental teacher, if there's a term like that. After I graduated university, I went ahead and took the licensure exam, both the Philippines and the US. And at that time, I aimed to work in another country, particularly USA for greener pasture. So after I passed, I had to process my visa screen, and in order to do that, I had to take IELTS.
Right.
So at that time, I didn't have any idea what IELTS specifically is, and I was told that I had to get 7 in all skills. Now, I remember calling my friend, asking her where to enroll for IELTS training, and then she said that I should just apply for a job as an IELTS instructor. And in that way, I get to review and get paid at the same time. But that's crazy because I don't have any idea about IELTS. But then she said that I'll get a lot of training. And true enough, when I applied, I got hired, and 2 months later, I took the actual IELTS exam and got my target band score. But then, the 2008 recession happened in the US, and it actually affected all the plans. So I was told by my agent to wait for a little while and just enjoy whatever I'm currently doing. And fast forward to 11 years later, I'm still here. I
Wow.
guess this is a super overstay in this industry.
But you know what? It's so amazing how things work out.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yes. A lot of people would ask me, why did I stay? Like, if a lot of people in Philippines, if you were a nurse, they would expect you to go to the US like right after graduating or 2 years after graduating. So I often get that question. I would say that when I was still new to the industry, to this kind of job, I can just simply answer that I enjoyed every moment and every experience I had with my students. I teach them English, and in return, I get to learn about their country and culture, and I get to hear their stories, their dreams, and aspirations. So, through conversation, through English, And now, as I mature in this industry, I could say that more than all of these, I can proudly say that I found my passion and purpose to help through the beauty of English language. So yeah, that's
That
that's
is so beautiful.
yeah. So that's what made me teach English and stayed in this industry for this long time.
No, that's really amazing. And I love how you didn't even expect this to happen, but sometimes that's how the world works. And clearly, you were meant to do this because you are making an amazing difference.
Yes, that's true. Like I remember that when I was still in nursing, I always dreamed of traveling the world. And now, although I'm not in the nursing industry or I'm not working as a nurse, I still get to travel a lot, even just by talking to my students. And I'm also given the opportunity to travel now to train teachers, and that's just really beautiful.
No, yeah, that's super cool. Did you end up feeling like by doing the training for IELTS, you yourself became a better English speaker?
Yeah, of course. Yes, I considered myself, even now, I still consider myself as a non-native English speaker, being in the Philippines. Although we speak English, it's lingua franca here in the Philippines. It's another national language aside from Filipino. But being in this industry and being mindful of how you do things to model the language to your students, it would make you become a better speaker and better user of the language.
100%. That's so true. All right. So, thank you for telling us a little bit about your background. Super interesting. Let's take it over to more about the IELTS exam. So, for those who don't know, can you tell us what is the IELTS exam?
Sure. IELTS, or International English Language Testing System, is basically an English proficiency test. It assesses the test taker or candidate's skills in listening, reading, writing, and speaking. Just like any other exam, it is scored accordingly, and the term used for that is band score. So you will be scored according to criteria for speaking and writing, and there is a band score equivalency for listening and reading. So there's no passing score though, because it would highly depend on your purpose of taking the test and what the institution or country would require, or what the country would require you to possess. So that's IELTS exam.
So, are you going to share with us what your score was? I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. Okay, so that's good to know that you don't need to have a passing score. It's just a spectrum where you
hmm
can get any kind of range. So, why is this test so important?
Well, it's absolutely necessary for non native speakers. This is one way for us to prove our English language level when we want to work or study or immigrate to a country where English is used as a language of communication. So I've had several students that their purpose is to go to Australia to work, and so they are required to take this exam. And as I've mentioned earlier, few years back, I was also asked to take the exam because of my visa screen processing. Again, as a non-native speaker, I am required to take that exam to prove my ability in English language.
Right. So it does open up plenty of opportunities and it definitely gives you more options in terms of traveling or searching for jobs abroad.
Yes,
So thanks
that's
for
true.
touching on that.
Mhm.
So, what do you think then is, since you've had many experiences, taking the exam yourself and also training others to take it, what is like the most difficult part of this exam? Why do you think it's so difficult?
Mm. Well, if I get your question correctly, when we say difficult, this is on teachers' perspective on learners. Most of the difficulty in this exam comes from the interference of the first language. For example, when with my Japanese and Korean students, they usually interchange L and R sounds because in their first language, these are closely pronounced, if not the same. And that's what makes them feel that listening is really hard. For my Vietnamese and Taiwanese students, because their vowel sounds in their first language are there are several short vowel sounds. This makes them have challenges with speaking. So that's quite difficult for them. Now, for Filipinos, it's also a different story. We're probably good at listening and speaking, but our problem would be writing, mainly because of the train of thoughts and appropriacy of language. You know, we write what we speak. So the tendency is our academic writing tone or register becomes casual, or our line of thoughts would go just all over the place. And IELTS is a bit prescriptive. And there are ways on how to put it in a more concise and coherent structure. And I think that really affects how they take the exam or how they process the questions in the exam.
Right. So that's why I guess taking business English courses and lessons are so important before taking this exam. Did you find, Mary, that for you, since you are Filipino, was that the hard part for you, the writing?
Yes, yes. You know, in writing, although there are explicit criteria, it tells us what are what's 7.0, what's 8.0 in all four criteria, right? But you know, there are just, we call it the unimplied criteria. You know, these are criteria examiners would score it. Human as they are, there's always this subjective nature. Although I'm not saying that they are subjective in scoring it, but because there are clear descriptions or rubrics in scoring, but there would always be the unimplied factor. It's hard to explain, but that's just how I see it. Writing needs clarity, it needs structure. It doesn't work that if you are good at speaking and you're very fluent at it, then you will also be good in writing. I don't think that would be that easy to equal writing and speaking. It's not like that. It doesn't work like that. There's just so much rules that you also have to be aware of when you are doing writing.
No, exactly. I've been studying French for many years, and the same exact thing. I'm really great at speaking, but my writing needs a little bit of work. I think the main issue is that when we are writing, you actually have the time to read every word. And so others who are reading your work, they are able to notice all the different mannerisms, grammar mistakes, whatnot. But when you're speaking, it's so fast and natural and in the moment that people don't often realize
Mhm.
even what they're saying.
Yes, I totally agree.
Thank you for that. That definitely, I think, sheds a lot of insight on, what some people need to work on before taking this exam. What about maybe the top three tips you have as a takeaway for students who are planning on taking this exam?
Mm. This is something that I also share to my students that when they take an exam, remember three P's. So, three letter P. The first P would be purpose. It's very important to know your purpose. You know, I've seen several students who, at the beginning, they were so enthusiastic to start the program, but towards the middle part, they get disappointed and demotivated of their scores. So, I guess knowing your purpose and returning to it when you are feeling tired give you back that drive to study. The second P would be plan. Taking this exam takes a lot of conscious effort, commitment, and consistency. So it's very important for students, especially those who are working and studying IELTS at the same time, to plan your study time. Plan how many hours can you commit every day. You know, this exam is quite pricey as well, so you don't want to waste this. So For me, a good 30 minutes to 1 hour every day is a good start until you can commit up to 2 hours every day. So that's the second P, plan. The third one would be practice. Practice, practice, practice. And I'm not saying just any kind of practice. I'm saying time practice. You know, IELTS is a timed exam, so do a time practice. It's also very important to do this, especially when it comes to understanding and following instructions, because IELTS is also very clear and very restrictive with their instructions. For example, no more than 3 words, or write no more than a word and or a number, and that must be followed strictly. So that would be my 3 tips for the students who are taking the exam. Purpose, find your purpose, set your plan, and do a lot of practice.
Mary, that is so amazing and a very easy way for our listeners to remember that. I love that, the 3 Ps. And especially the one that really resonated with me was the setting plans, because even in any area of life, regardless of language instruction or language learning, you can have so many ideas and so much intent to accomplish those ideas, but without setting a plan, there's no way to really accomplish that. Let's say, for example, you know you want to start working out and you want to be healthy and you have all these ideas, but if you don't make a plan, that's not going to
That's
happen.
right. Yes, exactly. Yes. It needs a lot of discipline as well.
100%. So I really like that. I think that's going to be an easy way for our listeners to remember. So the 3 Ps, we have to make sure that before this exam happens, we are prepared, right? Prepared, we have
That's
our
right.
purpose, we plan, and we practice. So that's perfect. Thank you for those tips, Mary. And thanks for sharing your ideas with the Glish community. It was super helpful. And I have a question. So, for those who are looking to maybe connect with you, perhaps even take lessons with you, where can they do that?
Well, we have our Facebook group. It's International TEFL Training Institute in Facebook. That's the only social media that we have, I guess. And basically, that's a center for teacher training, but we also do IELTS and OET training in that center. So that's ITTI, International TEFL Training Institute in Facebook.
Perfect. And I will get you to send that to me so I can put that in the show description box.
Sure.
So thanks again, Mary. And thank you for those who are listening to the English Journey podcast every week. It has really motivated us to continue. And I am so happy to hear that the podcast has been helping you learn English. We actually have now begun our podcast episodes on YouTube. So you can use the YouTube captions to help you understand, sort of like transcripts. So the link to the podcast, the YouTube, and as well as Mary's Facebook group will all be in the episode description box. As always, I am available to answer any questions or feedback you have over on our Instagram, which is at Glish Social. We post daily English vocabulary over there, so be sure to check it out and join me next week for another awesome English learning episode. Take care!